Hi everyone, I hope that you're good. For me everything is okay. Now I am in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, and this is my second video in English. I'm very happy for this. So this video is talking about the question of identity. Indeed, right now I'm traveling around the world, and I have this project who is called We Are Human, and it's based on 15 questions that I want to ask to all the people that I will meet, women, men, old, young, everybody. So why? For 3 reasons. The first one is because I think that we are living in a society a little bit schizophrenic, because on one hand, with the globalization, the distance between the country are more short. For example, if I want to go to Japan from Paris, that takes me only 10 hours. And the communication is more easy too. For example, if I want, I can speak with my friends who are living in India, and I don't have to wait to receive a letter like 50 years ago. I can make like a video conference with WhatsApp or all our social networks. And that is something that I like, because the world is more open, and the people can be like more close. But in the other hand, we have more racism and more communalism in our world. I think that the best example is Trump. If you're Iranian, you can't enter in the US territory, and really I have no words for this. I think it's so sad and it's terrible for the humanity history, and of course I don't like it. The second reason, sorry, I'm reading my notes in English, that helps me. The second reason is, when you start to travel in a country different from yours, the first day you are more focused on the things which are different. For example, the food, the religion, the language, the clothes, everything. But little by little during your travel, you start to understand that we are more similar than we can thought at first. And indeed, of course, everyone wants to have a family, have friends, and just to be happy. And that's why with this project I want to kind of help people to focus more on that fact that we are human after all. I mean, me, in my identity, I want, before to be French, before to be a girl, before to be Muslim, I am a human. And that's the point, and I think that is something very important, and a lot of people forget it. And the third reason, it's because of my personal history. Of course, I'm French, but my mother is from Algeria. So I grew up with 2 cultures, and it didn't was easy, really, especially when I was a teenager. And until now, in France, when I meet a new person and I say to him, "Oh, hi, I'm Imène, I'm 26 years old, blah blah blah," the most of people will ask me, "Oh, Imène, where you come from?" And sorry, but I think that I speak French without any accent, and that hurts me a little bit, really. And in the other side, when I go to Algeria, the people there told me that I am an immigrant, that I'm not Algerian, of course, because I grew up in France, I speak French, even if I can speak very good Arabic, because since I'm little my mother speaks with me in Arabic. So it's hard. It was hard for me to build my identity, because I always had this question where I'm from, but right now I don't care about this, and I feel so much better. So that's why I wanted to make this project. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Maybe make a film, or if I can write a book, I don't know. With the time we will see. And yeah, the last point is that the 15 questions that I have are open, because I think that is very important to have subjective and authentic answers. So when I will ask this question to people, if they tell me, what do you mean by who are you, for example, I will always say that there is no way to understand the question. Just tell me, what do you understand by this question? And for me, that's the thing the most important for me. And yeah, I think that I told you everything. Sorry for my French accent, but it's very good exercise for me. Oh my god. Yeah, that's it. I hope that you will like it. Ciao, ciao. Yeah, it's not easy.
It's worse when you work with wildlife.
Yeah. So I will make it everything in English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Merci.
Okay. So, hi. That is my second video in English.
Ooh,
Yeah.
very good, très bien.
Yeah, it's a good exercise for me to improve my English level and my French accent.
Yes.
So now I am with Randall. I met him like 2 days ago for Christmas. I was in his restaurant, and we talked about
Lots of things.
a lot of things. And yes, and so he traveled a lot, and you was living in different country too. And I was thinking that can be good if I can make this project, if you can participate. And he said yes, so let's go.
On y va.
On y va. So, first question, who are you?
Who am I? My name is Randall. I'm Australian, essentially. Although I haven't lived in Australia for quite some time, and I don't really associate as an Australian. Now I live in Bolivia. No, I don't really. I come to Bolivia a lot, and yeah, I kind of work in different places. But who am I? How much time do I spend on that question?
Like you want, I told you, you're completely free. There is no rule.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I think that'll probably come out more through the other questions anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my second question is like, what is your nationality?
That's already answered. Australian born. I have residency here, so yeah, I can keep living in Bolivia for as long as I want, as long as I don't leave for more than 2 years. I just got denied a visa in Europe, in Germany, so that's cut off one part of my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I work for an American company as well, this one. And yeah, so that takes me to different places.
Yeah. And do you love your country, and why?
No, I don't. I mean, for me, love for country, I don't really understand the concept. I know it means a lot to a lot of people, but the fact that I was born in this particular region doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
It's just a place where I was born. I love my family, I love my friends. There's a lot about Australia that I love, but there's an awful lot that I'm ashamed of. I think it is an absolute disgrace, and I don't know how people can ignore the obvious problems and just celebrate the great things about a country. I mean, yeah, France has got some wonderful things and it's got some horrible things, and
Of course.
and that's every country. So for me, it's just a region. I don't believe in maps. I mean, I love maps. I don't believe in borders. I don't believe in countries. I don't want to see countries. I want to visit places, people, but not geographical regions as defined by a political system. I think it's an outdated concept.
And do you have like religion or beliefs?
I'm fairly atheistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't grow up in a religious environment, and I think I know a fair amount about most religions. I've studied religion to some degree. I find it fascinating. I read a lot about religion, but I am certainly not religious myself, never have been. And I don't really see religion as a power of good in the world. No. I think good for people, and I 100% respect everyone's religion. Yeah. And I respect religion's right to exist, but I think they're far too powerful, and I think they're responsible for far too many crimes in history and now. Yeah.
Okay. And did you travel before to other countries? Of course, yes.
Yeah, I've been to quite a few countries. Yeah. I think, as a child, my parents took me on kind of like cruises around the Pacific, but mostly traveling throughout Australia.
Yeah.
Pretty cheaply, just driving around the country, camping and such. And then when I was 16, I went on a student exchange to Germany and fell in love with Europe in general, and I still do love Europe. So I need to get another visa for that. Leaning more towards Portugal now, so if any Portuguese watching, help. But I love traveling. I never see myself ever living in one place for any too long a time. It doesn't hold any attraction for me at this stage.
And can you tell me if you feel yourself different from the other person that you meet during your travel?
Do I feel different? Yeah, I think essentially we're all different, but there's also an element of sameness that's... That's why I don't feel patriotic Australian. There are a lot of Australians whose views are so foreign to mine that I'm more in touch with people that think akin to me. So for me, it's, I associate with people who have sensible, tolerant beliefs that are actually caring, nice people, rather than just because. I forgot what the question was. But, do I feel
different? What?
Yeah, I feel different to people who think differently to me, like racists and homophobes and such. I don't feel a similarity with them. But as to where people come from, I've bonded with people from all different nationalities, religions, genders, everything. To me, it's irrelevant.
And on the contrary, can you tell me what makes you feel like the same from the other person from the other country that you visited?
I think essentially we all want the same things. Different priorities in life. Some people want a big house and car and television and la-di-da.
Yeah.
Fine, it's not my thing, but I understand it and respect it. Other people, more like me, don't really need material possessions and just want to travel the world. But some people who've never traveled have a more open mind than people who've traveled the whole... I've met people who've been all around the world and have the same very narrow-minded focus that they left with in the first place. There's a joke I heard years ago. What's the difference between Australian and a tub of yogurt? You can't have culture in a tub of yogurt. And I meet these people who travel. Like Europe's a perfect example. Young people who travel to Europe and just get drunk in a different city every night. They don't know where they are. They don't know anything about the country they're in other than the foods maybe that they serve. And they compare it the whole time to where they come from. It's like, it's better back there. A friend of mine's a tour guide in Italy, and she said the amount of times she's heard Australians say, Australian coffee is much better than Italian coffee. Italian food is much better than Italian. Italian food in Australia is better than Italian food in Italy. It's like, oh, really, is it? And go back home and eat your Italian food in Australia. That kind of closed-mindedness, I don't associate with.
Okay. And if I ask you to give me a definition of identity, what it would be?
What is identity? Identity is who you believe you are. So it's essentially how you feel you relate to the world, how you are, your belief system. Gender for a lot of people is important, race is important, religion is important. Those are not so necessarily for me, but to other people they are. How you identify, who you associate with, who you think are similar. So I would identify with people who think similarly to me. Yeah.
And do you think that our identity is making by our society and like familial heritage, or is making by our choice?
I think it's both. Yeah. I think you're a product of your environment. The nature versus nurture argument is, I find, fascinating. And yeah, I fluctuate whether I think it's more nature, more nurture, but I believe it's a mix of both, for want of a number, 50-50. But yeah, we're very much a product of our environment. The belief system that your parents give you, whether it be religious or non-religion or whatever. Oi, how you doing, brother? Yeah. You still in town? Cool. Good. Oh, he's already gone. Is he coming back?
I doubt it. No.
Oh yeah. I'll tell him.
I'm still waiting for my credit. Well, I'm waiting for another credit card. The first one disappeared in Trinity. So
not the first time that's happened.
That would be for another couple of weeks.
Oh, I'm happy about that. Yeah. And tell Tom I say good day as well.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah. He's a cool lad.
Anyway, sorry.
Cool. Sí, puedes poner acá. Sí. Gracias.
Gracias, disculpa.
Wait. Identity, no?
Identity, yeah.
Nature, nurture, yeah. Yeah, I think essentially genetics is hugely important in what you eventually become and what you make of your environment. But they're two essential parts of the puzzle, I think. So yeah, as the percentage, just say 50-50.
50-50. And what is the most important things for you in your identity?
I say for me, I the way I think. But I think also you're identified somewhat by your friends, your peers, who you choose to be with is a reflection of yourself.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's how I would say my identity is most shown. But as to describing my identity, yeah, I mean, it's not something I really think about or have thought about. I am who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm happy with that.
Most important.
Yeah, I like my beliefs. I consider myself a responsible, tolerant person. So, yeah, that's how I would identify.
Okay, and do you think if you was born in another country, would you be the same person or not?
Yeah, that's again, not exactly the same. Obviously, if I'd have been brought up, for example, in a strictly religious environment, and for me, it's not offensive to anyone, but I believe religion is an indoctrination from an early age. I think the same person brought up in one type of religious environment, if they're brought up in another type of religious environment, they would have equally strong views, but vastly different. And they could possibly go to war together because they are under a different religious political system. Mm-hmm. But in actual fact, I think people are vastly different depending on their environment. The views that are put in. No one's born racist. No one's born homophobic.
Yeah.
This is all taught, and that's the environment you live in. Mm-hmm. Whether you can outgrow that, some people can, some people can't. And some people do.
Yeah. Some
people will realize through whatever that their views were atrocious and change their ways. Others don't. Most don't.
Yeah. And what do you think about the racism? And is there a lot of racism in your country?
Oh, extremely. Australia is one of the most racist countries on the face of the planet.
Really?
We had officially the White Australia policy. So it means that when immigrants came, first question, are you white? And that was...
Until now.
It's not official now, but it's there still. It's under the surface, and it's on the surface. Australia is a hotbed of racism as far as I'm concerned. Even immigrants that have come, after the Second World War, anti-immigration against the current wave of immigrants, which is Australia, with all immigrants, even the Aboriginals who came to Australia, came out of Africa, as far as I believe, across the straits when there was lower sea levels.
Yeah.
And they had the country for 60-odd thousand, maybe more, maybe up to 100,000 years. There are debates in that. But essentially they did come from somewhere else. They had it, And then various waves of immigration came, exploration. Eventually it was settled as a British colony. And so it has that British history that dominated for the last 200 odd years. But the immigration has come the whole time from different parts of the world. It was, after the Second World War, we had massive immigration from Europe, Southern Europe essentially. But here's a perfect example. When Australia was attacked by Japan in the Second World War, we realized we needed a bigger population to defend such a massive country, an entire continent with, at the time, I think like 14 million people. And so they sent immigration officers around Europe to bring people to Australia, to say, hey, come to Australia. And that document, when it was released 50 years later, specified they only wanted people of Aryan descent. After we fought the evil Hitler, we were exactly the same. Not exactly, but our attitudes were not different enough as far as I'm concerned. After that immigration, a lot of immigration from Asia, especially Indonesian, Filipino, Korean, everything. Chinese, there was an earlier wave of Chinese during the gold rush as well. And now there's more immigration from Western Asia and immigration from Africa. And a lot of these people bring their religions and such, and the so-called white Australian Christian kind of background doesn't like the change in demographics. And they're fighting against it in a very ugly, brutal way. People are being killed for this. And we have politicians standing up in Parliament expressing how good the White Australia policy was. These people's views are essentially Nazi in nature. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it is, and that's why for my next question is for you: why does racism still exist in our world? Because right now we are in 2018.
Nearly 19.
The slavery is abolished. With the science, we know that all the people come from the same source, everything. So, for you, why it still exists now?
Yeah, there are 1,000 reasons perhaps, and different for different people. Fear, obviously, fear of something different. But I think there's a hugely economic background to the racism. I don't think that's even discussed very much, but there's so much economic motivation to keep racism in place.
Yeah.
Like essentially, as I said, no one's born racist, you learn that, but the system is racist, and that makes people racist. And a lot of that is economic. I mean, you need people, big business believes they need a difference in economic situation, and the easiest way to maintain that is racially. Essentially, a continent like Africa, which has the majority of the world's resources, is kept poor for that very reason, and racism is a part of that equation. It's fear, and it's a way of people identifying as themselves and feeling important as by feeling that there are differences.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously other people believe that the differences are like not relevant.
Yeah, it's sad. In the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the first article is, I have to read it. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Dignity, sorry.
Yeah.
And rights. Rights. What do you think about this?
No. No. We're all born in a different situation. I was born white and male. That's two massive privileges. I wasn't born wealthy in Australia. Our family never had much wealth, but we were not poor. I've never considered myself poor. At the moment, I've got 3 bicycles to my name, but I don't consider myself poor. I know people who own 4 houses who consider themselves poor.
Of course.
I won't mention names in case they're watching. But there's a difference in so much where you're born. Like if you're born in poverty, Australia, if you're born Aboriginal and in the countryside, you were not going to have the same privileges that I had. I had an extremely good education and access. I could have been whatever I wanted to be. But yeah, not everyone has that privilege. If you're born in the USA, you've got another advantage. You know? If you're born in Cameroon, and you don't speak English and you're not white, then there are three privileges that you don't have that I have, and it's allowed me to travel the world with basically next to nothing. The passport is key. The race is key. I mean, I used to have dreadlocks, and I suffered quite a bit of discrimination. Traveling through airports, I always randomly searched, But I know people who were Middle Eastern or Latino or black, and they're just flat out can't fly on the plane because they're taken away and interrogated for 6 hours, Twice I've been locked up in US airports for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, just because I look like I look like, and I fit the criteria for a suspicious person who might be a threat to the United States for moral turpitude or whatever. But they have their selection category. I fit into that a little bit, but other people are permanently in that, and that's not born free and equal. Some people are born into slavery in this day and age. Slavery's rampant. It's hardly talked about, but it's what makes these phones.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And from a last question, can you give me a definition of a human being?
Definition of a human being?
Yeah.
I would go more biological than that and just say Homo sapiens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If I was to say purely biological, but then if we're going to go, culturally or philosophically, a human being is a person that wants to participate in society. We are a social animal. I think there's one thing that a lot of people forget is we are animals. Mm-hmm. And we like to think we're so much higher than any other animal, and that's how we treat other animals. We eat them, for example, and the way we eat them is quite often appalling. No disrespect to me in the world, and I am one myself. But industrialized farming is not a way of behaving in what we would say humanitarian, for example. So I think that's one of the biggest problems is human beings lack humanity. And if we can get closer to that and treat others as we would like to be treated ourselves, commonly said in one of the world's major religions, and yet quite often absent even throughout that same religion, is treating people how you would want to be treated yourself. So as a human being, I think that's essential. Appreciate it. Treating everything with respect. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Durant.
Bye bye.
Adieu.
Ciao.